How long have you been doing this for, Erica?
I've been coming here for about 5 years now.
6 years.
6 or 7 years.
6 to 7 years.
10 years.
11, 12 years.
13 years.
16 years.
17 years.
So what exactly is a Rocky Horror anyway? What is it about this movie, ostensibly about transsexuals from outer space, that compels people to spend decades of their lives devoted to it, reenacting it week after week, year after year? Well, at its heart, Rocky Horror is a musical comedy, a parody of the B-movie science fiction flicks that were popular around the 60s and 70s. Rocky Horror is the longest-running movie in all of film history. In addition to that, it is also one of the highest-grossing films of all time. In the United States alone, it has taken in approximately $139,876,417 in box office receipts alone. Not bad for a movie that was filmed with only a measly budget of $1,200,000. In 2005, the Rocky Horror Picture Show was selected for preservation in the national film registry by the Library of Congress as being culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. The major characters of Rocky Horror are as follows: Tim Curry as Dr. Frank N. Furter, Susan Sarandon as Janet Weiss, Barry Bostwick as Brad Majors, Richard O'Brien, the film's writer and composer, as Riff Raff, Patricia Quinn as Magenta. She also provided the iconic singing Red Lips, although Richard O'Brien himself sang. Nell Campbell as Columbia, Jonathan Adams as Dr. Scott, Peter Hinwood as Rocky Horror, Charles Gray as the criminologist, and Meatloaf as Eddie. The Rocky Horror Picture Show actually got its start as a stage show in England, known as The Rocky Horror Show. It toured the US and England briefly, and then became a movie. Many of the cast members reprised their original roles. The movie, once filmed, opened at the UA Theater in Westwood, LA on September 26, 1975. It had some moderate success there, but was completely unsuccessful elsewhere. Due to small audiences, Rocky was eventually re-released as a midnight movie on April 1, 1976, at the Waverly Palace Theater in New York. By that Halloween, people were already dressing in costume and talking to the screen. By mid-1978, Rocky was shown on Fridays and Saturdays at over 50 locations, and the first conventions began. By the end of '79, Rocky was being shown twice weekly at over 230 theaters. In fact, a theater in Munich, Germany, called Museum Lichtspiele, has been screening Rocky since June 24, 1977, without interruption. For this, it holds the Guinness World Record for constant screenings of a movie. The theater also has a dedicated screening room, known as Kino Zwei, decorated in the style of the movie. The largest showing of Rocky Horror ever occurred in September 2005 at the Hollywood Bowl, at which over 8,000 fans attended. That's almost 8 times the population of Hobart High School. But the essential question still remains: what is it about Rocky that compels people to devote years of their lives to it? I turned to my own Rocky Horror Shadowcast, known as Help Me Mommy, based in Hobart's own art theater, for answers.
What does Rocky Horror mean to you?
What it means to me? It's the center of my counterculture, as it were.
Okay.
I like things that are a little odd, a little different, things that kind of push the envelope, as it were. And that's kind of what attracted me to Rocky Horror so long ago.
What does Rocky Horror mean to you?
It's the place where everybody who has nowhere else to go comes.
What would you say Rocky Horror means to you?
More than anything, it's acceptance. This is a place where we are the misfits of the misfits, you know, and we come here and we find family and unity and acceptance where other people don't want to give it to us.
What does Rocky Horror mean to you?
It's a good question. Friends, family, acceptance, a place where I can actually just be myself.
Yeah.
And not worry about being judged.
And what does Rocky Horror mean to you?
Everything. I don't know. This is my social life. This is what I do.
So, what does Rocky Horror mean to you?
I think what Rocky Horror means to me more than anything else is that it kind of commonly unites any type of fan of Rocky. It doesn't really define you exactly, but anyone that goes and attends and gives it their best shot, that everyone's united by being different. Everyone's similar in the sense that everyone's different views, different aspects on Rocky. I think that's what brings people together every Saturday night at midnight.
What would you say Rocky Horror means to you?
I get that question a lot, and I really don't have like a straight answer for it. It's not something that I can put into words, but it's something that if you know what it is, and I know what it is, we can just make eye contact and have like a shared moment about it, and it's like an unspoken thing that makes everything else in the world
Makes
worth
sense.
putting up with.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
It's the constant in my life where everything else can just be whatever it has to be. You know, work can be whatever it has to be, and school could be whatever it had to be, and family can be whatever it has to be. And every Saturday night, without fail, Rocky Horror.
Now, what exactly would you say Rocky Horror means to you?
Everything. I'm the kind of guy that, I'm not very popular with my peers, and I never really was. I've always sort of been regarded as, hey, you read books, fag. I was always the guy who, when everybody else was like, oh, football game, we're gonna go to this big sports rally and then to the prom dance, or whatever was going on at the time, I'd be content to sit at home, like, curled up and reading an F. Scott Fitzgerald book, or playing my guitar, or playing video games or something. Like, that's what I did, and I always sort of had the feeling that wherever I was, I had to be very careful of what I said. Like, someone would say something and I'd want to make a joke about Nietzsche or communism or something, but I wouldn't, because that wasn't what the hip kids did. Everyone kind of has a moment in their life, I think, where they just have this grand revelation where they feel like they're looking down from a mountaintop at the world. And, some people might have these, when the birth of a child or something, or the day of their wedding. And I had mine on a dirty sidewalk surrounded by transvestites. The first night I saw Rocky, when I left, I felt like all of my sensory input was just rarefied and so fine, and when I was laying in my bed that night, I felt like someone who had been on death row who had just gotten a full pardon. It was incredible. I'd never experienced anything like it. And from there, I eventually joined the cast, and I made more friends the night that I joined the cast than I had in my entire life, really, leading up to that point. And I realized that when I'm around these people, I have this sort of complete acceptance that I really had never experienced with my family or at school or wherever I happen to be. I could say, like, how many communists does it take to screw in a light bulb, or just whatever popped into my mind. I could be William as William was, and not necessarily William as through the lens of what is and is not acceptable in high school or in the theater department or what have you. From Rocky, after I joined, my life I felt so much better, That was like the first time in my life I ever felt attractive anywhere. And I just felt less angry all the time, and school was just, all the pressures that I felt from everywhere else just sort of paled in comparison, because I knew it would only be a matter of time before I was up on stage again. First kiss came because of Rocky. Almost all of my friends are in Rocky. So, to me, it means growing up, but also more than that. I think that, to me, Rocky is my sanctuary, I guess.